I think we finally got the thing smoothed out here.
All right.
Okay.
This is NVHA 020020/21. We're doing 2 for 1 here. So this is May the 1st, 2002. We have John Hobbs and Harold Miles, who were both in the Army Air Force in World War II. They were both in B-17s.
That's right.
Be an interesting story. It's the first time we've been in a B-17. Yes, 20/21. And start off with, well, John, why don't you give me your full name?
John William Hobbs,
Okay. And what's your date of birth?
8/28/18.
And what was your rank at discharge?
Master Sergeant.
Master Sergeant. And Harold, what's your full name?
Harold Ruoff Miles. R-U-O-F-F.
Okay. That's an interesting name. Is that a family name?
That was my mother's maiden name.
Okay.
Good German name.
All right. And what was your date of birth?
3/16/21.
And what was your rank at discharge?
Tech Sergeant.
Okay. Let's see now. Who outranks who now?
He outranks me.
Oh, well, well, we'll be nice about that. That's interesting. You were born the day before St. Patrick's Day.
That's right.
And our last interview was born on St. Patrick's Day,
Oh,
and my
yeah.
mother was born on St. Patrick's
Oh,
Day, so
uh-huh.
it's interesting how these things come
Yeah.
around. Well, John, let's start out with you a little bit. Where were you born?
Hobbs, Indiana,
Hobbs, Indiana. Did they name the town after you?
after my great-great-grandfather.
Ah,
And it was named Hobbs Corner for many years. He erected a gas light at the crossroad, and that's why it was called Hobbs Corner.
okay.
And it was very low ground, and the roads were more or less like corduroy roads because they laid logs across. They tell me that.
Okay.
Of course, that was before my time. And lived there until actually went to service in 1941.
Okay. Tell me about your mom. What was her name?
My mother's maiden name was Terwilliger.
How do you spell that?
Terwillinger.
Wow, that's quite a name. Where'd that come from?
Dutch.
Dutch.
They
huh?
were. She was born in Pennsylvania, and so was, and her husband must have been born in Pennsylvania because they met in Pennsylvania, and then they moved to Ohio, and then from Ohio, and she could have been born in Ohio. Then they transferred to Indiana.
Okay. What was her first name?
You got to think.
Called her mom all those years. You just
Oh, my mother?
yes.
Oh, Ethel.
Oh, Ethel.
But she had no middle initial. But in time, she called Ethel P. Hobbs.
Tell me a little something about her. What was she like?
She was very accommodating to anybody that was sick or death or anything. She was one of the first people in Hobbs to be there. She was president of the ladies' club for, I don't know, a long time or different times in Hobbs at the Christian church. And we kids went to church because we went to Sunday school. We didn't particularly stay for church, but she raised us in the Sunday school.
No getting out of it, was there?
No, there sure wasn't. Even though I loved to go fishing with my dad on Sunday morning, and he did that. He didn't go to church. Then I would go to church, and then sometimes I would walk to where he was fishing after Sunday school.
What was your dad's name?
Charles Ezra Hobbs.
What was he like?
Tall and slender, and he was basically somebody that was an engineer because he worked on steam engines, run a separator, pulled a separator by the steam engine, and I've driven it down the road, blowed the whistle.
That sounds like fun.
It was.
Had those big steel tires on them?
Yeah.
Or steel wheels,
yeah,
rather?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the belt must have been about I don't know, 10 inches maybe that went from the steam engine to the separator.
Wow. Yeah, my great grandfather had a steam tractor and a separator.
Okay.
And,
Well, my grandfather actually owned a steam engine and a separator on my dad's side.
you have any brothers or sisters?
I have 2 brothers and had 2 sisters.
Okay. What are their names and what became of them in life?
My oldest sister was Loretta Jean Hobbs, and she married Steedham, her second marriage, and she was born in 1920, June the 4th, died October the 30th, 2001. And my second sister was Eileen, Frances Eileen, and her name is McCain, and she lives in Sheridan. And she was born in 1922, November the 1st. And my brother, Don, who has passed away, was born July 31st, 1924, and he died December the 5th of 2000. And then my youngest brother was born 1932, December the 4th, and he is in Utah.
Okay. So, Sergeant Miles,
Yes, sir.
tell me a little bit about where you were born.
I was born in Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
So we got a Pennsylvania connection here. That's
a little
interesting.
bit. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Coal country, isn't it?
No, not Newcastle. Newcastle was mostly steel mills.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I lived there until I was 16 years old. And then we moved to Warren, Ohio. My father was with the B&O Railroad. So every now and then they would transfer him from one town to another.
Well, what was his name?
His name was George Winfield Miles. He was a World War I veteran.
Oh, really?
And he was gassed in the World War. He was in the artillery and was gassed. And he died when he was 58 years old. And we attribute his early death a lot to that mustard gas.
Yeah. Nasty stuff.
It was.
Do you know
was.
where he was? Where he was when he was?
Well,
attacked?
he was in France somewhere. I don't know what battle. He was in 3 major battles in World War I.
That was a nasty war.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to have been in trenches like that.
No, it seemed like a hopeless situation.
That's right. That's right.
Did he talk much about the war?
Not too much. No, he wasn't a great talker. Not too much. My granddaughter says that I'm the same way.
Well, what about your mom? What was her name?
My mother's name was Hilda Pauline Ruoff. And that's a German name. And she had one sister. And she lived to a fairly ripe age. And she died when she was 87 years old. I have 2 brothers, one 2 years younger than I, his name is Dick, and then one 12 years younger than I, which was the second family for them,
Okay.
and his name is George.
All right. So, what was your mom like?
She was a hard worker. She loved canning. In the Depression, we had a big garden in the back of the garage, and she was canning this and canning that, and I would go out in the country and pick elderberries, and she'd make elderberry jelly, or I'd get blackberries and she'd make blackberries, can them, or make blackberry jelly. And we'd go to my grandmother's and pick cherries, and she'd can the cherries and make cherry jelly.
Oh my!
So we had a lot of canned goods in our basement.
I don't know about you, but I'm getting hungry, guys. That sounds good.
My father had this garden. It was about maybe a 1/5 of an acre, and his main thing that he loved to raise was cucumbers, and about 1/4 of that garden was cucumbers, but he couldn't eat them. They tore up his stomach. But mother would make mustard pickle or pickle relish or different things out of pickles, and he could eat that.
Yeah.
But he couldn't eat a cucumber.
Oh, we darn.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So how did you fellows make out in the Depression years?
Well, my father always had a job, which many people didn't have. He didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But we got by. We got by.
How about you, John? How?
Well, we had 2 lots that my grandmother and grandfather Hobbs owned, and there was no house on it. So we had a garden of 2 lots there, and then we had a garden behind the house besides. No, my mother canned. We picked strawberries along the railroad, wild ones, little things, not much bigger than the end of your little finger.
Yeah.
And she would make preserves out of them. We picked cherries on the shares for different people. And my dad had just odd job because the template went down, and he worked on the WPA and finally had to, because I passed papers and they used all the money that I had in the bank, and then they finally had to go to get some welfare because there was no way we were going to eat in the wintertime without some help from somebody.
That had to be awfully tough.
And my
on your
grandmother Hobbs had a dog that eat better than our family did because that dog got meat.
Before we get away, the template where?
Elwood.
Okay.
Okay.
Just wondered if it was Elwood or whether it was someplace else.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, Herschel
Elwood.
grew up around Elwood, so
Okay.
he knows the area pretty well. Yeah, that had to be awfully hard on your dad to have to go after welfare.
Oh, it sure was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's,
My mother hung paper also,
oh, really?
and she made a little money doing that, but not very much.
Oh, if I had
At
to
that
make
time.
money hanging paper, I'd be out of luck.
Well, I helped her, so I know a little about hanging paper.
Well, okay. Now I'm curious. Where was that creek that you went fishing on Sundays?
Oh, there was a gravel pit walking distance from Hobbs, right
Okay.
in the woods there, called Carr's Pit. And of course, that had, at that time, there wasn't any ditch or anything through it. And it had all kind of bass and bluegills.
Yeah.
And then there was 3 pits north of Hobbs that I've walked to more times than one, about a mile and a half, called Jackson's Pit.
Okay.
And then there was a pit south of Hobbs, a mile and a half, called Morris Pit. So,
I wasn't aware there was any gravel pits around there. You're telling me
Yeah.
that they dug up the whole place, huh?
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, Harold, how'd your family do in the Great Depression? You do anything special to try to get by, or?
Well, what my dad made seemed to be enough.
Yeah.
He got a paycheck every week, and we got by, and plus what we made on the garden. But my mother didn't work, and we were too young to work,
Right.
so
Well, everybody had a garden. That was,
that's right.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
if the garden wasn't good, you were in
Yeah.
trouble.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
But you learned how to get by in those days. You didn't ask for too much. Of course, now and then you get a dime, you could go to the movie. That's what the dime was.
Did you know that times were hard, or as a kid, did
Oh,
you
I
really
did.
notice?
Sure, I did. Sure. Now my wife, she doesn't even remember the hard times.
Yeah.
She doesn't remember anything about it.
Yeah.
I can't understand it, but that's the way it is.
Some people didn't seem to be touched by it at all, and
Yeah.
others were just desperately poor
That's
and
right.
hungry.
Majority of them were poor. There wasn't too much going on.
Yeah. So, where were some of the places you played as a kid?
Well, I lived at the edge of town, and I had a woods right next door. And in the mornings I'd go down there and fool around in the woods looking for birds or catching snakes or frogs. Then I'd come home and have lunch, and then I'd go down to the river. All the neighborhood kids would go down to the river and we'd swim every day in the river. And it was a good life. Now, my brother and I, we didn't do that every day. We had to do chores around the house.
Yeah.
Like on Fridays, he and I cleaned the house and washed dishes. So we helped Mother out that way. Then I also played trumpet, and I was in the American Legion Junior Band
Oh,
and also the high school band.
do you still play or?
No, I haven't played. When I went into the Air Force, that ended that.
Pretty much it, huh?
Yep, that ended that. I got trench mouth in prison camp, and that fixed my teeth, and you've got to have good teeth to play the trumpet.
Okay, what river did you play?
Susquehanna.
Susquehanna?
Hmm.
Why they always name that stuff back east?
Well, a
It's so
lot
hard
of
to-
Indian names back there. A lot of Indian names.
Kind of wish that some of these tribes would have been called Sam or Bob or
Yeah,
something.
right.
It would have been a lot easier.
That's right.
Of course, I suppose some of the words that we come up with are difficult for
Probably so for
that
them.
group as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So, did you fellows have any heroes when you were growing up?
Have any what?
Any heroes when you were growing up?
Mine was Carl Hubble, baseball pitcher for the
Okay.
New York Giants. That was my main hero. And then Buck Jones was my hero as far as the Cowboys. Ken Maynard was my brother's hero. So we would battle back and forth which was the best one.
That's great. How about you, John?
Well, when we were lucky enough to go to the Prince Theater in Elwood, and we would go mainly for the series, and it was a cowboy series for many years that Buck Jones, I think it was. I'm not real familiar with that. I think I forgot about some of those things. And,
Well, I kind of grew up with Roy Rogers and Gene Autry and
well, that's a little later.
Yeah, that's a little later.
Superman.
We had
Yeah.
Hoot Gibson and
Yeah.
Tom Mix. Those were the other two main ones.
Where'd you fellows go to school? Where'd you go to school, John?
I went to school in Hobbs in a two-room schoolhouse for 6 years. That was built in front of the high school, or the common school. Now it is called the Educated Wicker Building. I went
Okay.
2 years in that building, and then from there I went to Windfall High School because I could wear blue jeans at Windfall, but you couldn't wear blue jeans at Tipton, or you couldn't wear blue jeans at Elwood. You had to have dress pants. So,
I never heard of a fellow choosing the school because of that.
well, that's the reason why I went there.
Yeah.
And it was 6 miles north of Hobbs, and I walked home many times. That's 6 miles.
You wanna
What
say
year did you graduate?
36.
Okay. Dad graduated in 41, I think.
Okay.
Mhm.
Pretty close. Yeah, how many teachers that stand out?
Yes, not a teacher in my grade school, because his name was Ben Good. He was an old man, and he hated everybody by the name of Hobbs because my dad did not go to service, and their son went to service, and they only had one, and he was killed in France. And they held that against my dad. My dad was farming at that time, so, and lived on a farm. In fact, I was born on a farm south of Hobbs. And he just didn't like anybody that had the name of Hobbs, so I had a struggle for 6 years.
I guess
4
so.
years. The 6th, 7th, 8th, and the 5th, or 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I actually could have done better someplace else. I actually didn't learn much in those 4 years because he just didn't appreciate me at all.
Well, that's tough when you're a kid and anyway, and you can't fight back all that much.
Oh no,
and they-
no, couldn't say a word. So
How about you, Harold? Where'd you go to school?
Well, when I was about 2 years or 3 years old, we moved to Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. And I spent the first 3 years in grade school in Cuyahoga Falls, and then my dad got transferred back to Newcastle. So then I went to the schools in Newcastle until my senior year, and then my dad was transferred to Warren, Ohio. So I finished up my senior year in Warren, Ohio. I didn't go to college.
So, Anything you remember about school days and any of the people or teachers?
Well, you ask about the teachers. I remember, I guess my favorite, her name was Laurel, Mrs. Laurel, Miss Laurel. And that was 3rd grade. And then the other one was our band director, Mr. Replogle. Those were my 2 that I remember. I don't remember the names of any of the others at all.
Nice thing about it is when people from those families, if they hear this tape, they're going to hear something nice about somebody in their family, know just a little bit more about them. When did you graduate?
1939.
39? Okay. And
Well, I can tell you the outstanding teacher that I had, as far as I'm concerned, was Edna Darrow, and she lived southeast or southwest of Elwood. She was 17 years old when she graduated from college, and her first year of teaching was at Windfall, and she taught commercial. She taught me shorthand and typing.
huh. So, when did you graduate?
1936.
36. Okay. Okay, Harold, what did you have any idea what you wanted to do with your life before you graduated?
No, not really. I knew I was going to go in the service. I mean, there was wars and there's rumor of wars, and I told my dad, you don't send me to college because you might waste your money. I just had the feeling we were going to get into wartime.
So you had a pretty good sense of what was going on.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, some people had no idea until they dropped the bomb in Pearl Harbor, and then they
Well,
didn't know what that was.
That's right. That's right. Well, I usually follow history,
Okay.
pretty much. When I got out of high school, I worked at a gas station. Worked one day from 7 to noon, and the next day from noon to 11 at night, 7 days a week for $11 a week.
Wow.
Pardon? Do you remember the name of the gas station?
It was a Sohia, a Johnson and Sullivan high school, or gas station. Johnson and Sullivan. Yeah. And finally, I got a call to go to work for a steel mill. So then I went to work for Brainerd Steel, and I started at the bottom, and when I got drafted, I was in the engineering department.
Okay.
But I couldn't see any future there.
Yeah.
And I got married before, when I got back home from overseas. My father-in-law was a hardware salesman. So when I got out of service, he asked me if I would be interested in getting into the hardware business, and that's what I did.
Yeah. So could you see Hitler coming up through the ranks in Germany? Were you aware of?
Oh, I was
movements
aware
there?
of him invading Poland, and
I mean, before he started the war, when he was just coming onto the scene.
No, I knew there was problems, but I didn't know it was really him.
Yeah.
I knew it was Germany.
Right.
You know.
Now, having some German blood in your family, how did you feel about fighting against the Germans? Had you given that any thought?
I have no use for them.
I know some people were glad they went to the Pacific because they did have, and they thought, it might be fighting against someone
Well,
from my family.
let me change that. My feelings changed when I became prisoner of war,
Right, I could see.
and the way they treated me.
Right.
So that's why I have no use for them. I think it didn't make any difference who I was fighting when I went in. I didn't want to go to the Pacific,
Okay.
being in the Air Force. But flying over all that water, I didn't
Yeah.
care for that.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah. So, John, did you have any idea what you wanted to do after high school?
No, not exactly. I knew I couldn't go to college because there was just no way that we had any money to go to school.
Right.
And I had to find a job of some kind. So I went after, well, I worked at the tomato canning factory there in Hobbs well, I was too young to actually work, so I peeled tomatoes at the end of the belt, and when I got a bucket full, they'd punch my mother's card because they paid by the bucket. And then she would pay me when she got her check for the number of buckets.
That sounds like hard work. What was that do to your fingers? The acid in the tomatoes, is that?
Just almost blisters them, really. It just dries them. They just get wrinkled like they. And it's hard work, really. And then I worked at the canning factory after when I became 16 and got a working permit. They would hire us. So I worked on the canner, and that you took the cans after they had been capped, and they go through a steamer before they're capped, and they're hot.
Okay.
When you put them in the crate, then to be put in boiling water for so many minutes or so long in order to purify them.
Okay. It's sound like awfully hard work to me.
Well, it's not easy, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Well, did
And in 1939, I went to Florida because I didn't have anything to do. And if I'd had any money and any sense, but you didn't have because there was no money available, basically. He was selling oceanfront land at $1 a foot.
Oh no! Oh no!
60 feet deep. But I worked in a juice factory in Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the name of it.
See, did a
1930.
bit of traveling that when you were younger. Could you see the war coming?
Yes, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Hitler was something to read about and see what was going to happen to the rest of Germany after he took over all the countries that he did, taken over Poland, and there was something that was going to happen and had to be big.
Well, when he first came on the scene, he must have seemed like a savior to some people.
Oh, he probably
But
was. Yeah,
then,
he
it
was.
didn't take him long to show his colors.
No, it sure didn't.
Pearl Harbor.
I was in Aberdeen, Maryland in basic training, laying on my bunk listening to the Bears football game. I don't remember who they were playing when they came on radio and said that Pearl Harbor had been bombed. They immediately called everybody and issued us a .45 caliber automatic pistol. Now, I knew what that was, and I knew what a pistol was, and I had shotguns all my life.
Yeah.
But look at the fellows that had never seen a gun until that day.
You guys are
And
ready, weren't you?
I just figured somebody was going to shoot somebody. but that didn't happen in our barracks, so I don't know what happened anyplace else or not.
So you were you drafted or enlisted?
I was drafted.
Okay.
There
When-
was
when
9 other
that?
people from Madison, or from Tipton and Hamilton County drafted.
So when was that?
October the 26th, 1941.
41.
Do you remember any of them?
Just before. Huh?
That was
Does he
before the war.
What's
Does
that?
you remember any of their names?
Some couple or three last names is all. There was some fellow by the name of Melson, and he lived north of Hobbs. I knew him. And then there was a Henderson from Tipton. I did not know him. And there was a Camel from Kempton, and I didn't know him. And then there was a Flannery from Madison or from Hamilton County. And then later on, after I got out of basic training, he stayed in Aberdeen, Maryland, and I went to Eglin Field, Florida. Then we met again in 1946 in January, And and his wife was sitting in Mayberry's restaurant eating breakfast, and I walked in, and there they were. And I had never met her, but I recognized him, and he recognized me. And we became very, very good friends. And they were manager of Smith Furniture Store on the corner of 11th and Main. Maybe you remember that.
11th and Main where?
Here in Anderson.
Here in Anderson,
Yeah.
okay.
I don't remember
And
Smith.
then we spent about 7 or 8 vacations together. And we were in nearly every state in the Union with them. Then we went to Hawaii for 2 weeks with them.
Never been there. Like to go sometime.
So that was, and he passed away probably about 8 years ago, and she died last year, Roberta. And I lost my wife 15 years ago, last August 10th. Been single ever since. Plan on staying that way.
Got any prospects?
No, I have a friend.
That's good.
She is 6 months younger than I am,
Yeah.
and she has no qualms of getting married, so and we thrashed that out in about the first 6 weeks we went together, so that was fine. We
All right.
together, we travel a little together, not a lot, and no real close relationship of any kind.
Well, Harold, where were you in Pearl Harbor?
My future wife and I were at a concert at the Warren Harding High School. And we came back to her house about 4 or 4:30, and her father told us then what had happened, Pearl Harbor.
So what was your reaction to it? Do you remember?
Well, no, I don't remember too much. I knew I wasn't going to be home too many more months. I knew that. But that's about all I can remember, is coming home and he was telling us about Pearl Harbor. Of course, I had no idea where Pearl Harbor was until he said Hawaii.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know. They just
No.
knew it was a bad thing, but didn't know where.
That's
They
right.
couldn't really picture how bad it was.
No, that's right.
So when did you actually go into service?
August of 42.
So did you enlist or were you
I
drafted?
was drafted.
Okay. It's 42. When did they have the Doolittle raid? That was in 42. Was that April? I'm thinking.
The what raid?
A Doolittle raid on Tokyo?
That was probably
That was-
April of 42.
Yeah.
They come off the ships, John.
Yes. He trained at Eglin Field where I was, and they had the deck of the ship painted on the runway.
All right.
We had no idea what was going to happen, and I worked in the office and met Doolittle more times than once because I was in the office of the supply, and he would come in and we would order whatever he wanted out of the supply house, which was next door to where we worked.
Pretty much got what he wanted too, didn't he?
Yeah, and he was as common as an old shoe, but now some of his officers was not that accommodating or nice to we fellows there in the office, but most of them were pretty good, pretty nice. And they would come in for equipment or parts or something also.
Could you see them testing that runway?
Yes, because they had to take off in that spot and land in that spot. And there was a rope across there.
How'd they do?
No, he did all right. I didn't have any idea what they were training for, really.
Did it take them a while to catch on, or
No, as far as I know, most of us did not know what it was, other than it was just a quick landing in which they were practicing that and possibly going to be a quick landing someplace, but we had no idea.
You had no idea it was going to be off of an aircraft carrier?
No, not for sure.
When you heard that he had done this, Did you think he was nuts for trying to take off of an aircraft carrier?
No, I didn't, because thinking back then, I knew what they was doing when they were at Eglin Field.
Yeah. So how long were you at Eglin?
From 19 December of 41 until December of 40. Well, not quite that long. I left Eglin sometime in 43, but I think it was in August of 43.
Okay. Okay. How about you, Harold? Where'd they send you when you?
I went to Camp Perry, and then I was sent down to Biloxi, Mississippi for 2 weeks of basic training. And then I was sent to lovely Sioux Falls, South Dakota to spend the winter in tar paper shacks, learning the radio. And then they shipped us down to Panama City to gunnery school with nice wooden barracks down at Tenderfield, Florida. That's the way the Army works.
Did they wait till summer to send you down there?
No, we went down there in February.
Oh.
February.
Well, it's not a bad time of year to go.
No,
there.
that was a good time. That was a good time to go.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Sioux Falls and that.
Yeah, Sioux Falls and then Florida.
Wow.
And
So, have
one
you been back to South Dakota since then?
No, I have no desire to go back there. You know, no. It was a nice town, and the people treated us real well. It was nice. But I went to second shift radio school, which was from 3 to 11. So I didn't really get to see too much of the town at all.
So what'd you think of Panama?
Well, we never got into Panama. They never let us off the field.
Okay.
I never saw Panama City at all. That was just I think a 6-week course. Then they sent us to Salt Lake City, and that's where our crews are formed. And then from there I went to the lovely desert of California, Needles, for 2 months. And that was first phase. Then they sent us to Dyersburg, Tennessee for second and third phase training.
Do you remember any of the people that you were with in the service in that training period?
Pardon?
Do you remember any of the people, any of the men that you were with in the service at that time?
I remember my crew members, but I don't remember
That's okay. That's okay.
the
Who were they? This would be a good time for that. Yeah,
well-
your crew members.
Bill Q was our pilot, and well, I can't remember him until I see it. Jim Lunsford was one of the waist gunners. Charles Micklet was our co-pilot. O'Hara was the navigator. Carlton Dow was the bombardier. James Ross was the top turret gunner. He and our pilot were killed. And then Ralph Baird was the ball turret gunner underneath. Lunsford and Charles Whipple were the waist gunners, and James Hopkins was the tail gunner.
So can you tell me a little something about these fellows? Do you remember much about them?
Oh yeah, I remember a lot about them. Bill Q was one of the finest men I ever met, and yet I can still remember the day that we were shot down. We went out to the B-17 and Bill Q was laying on the floor like he was taking a nap, and I didn't understand that. And I still think of that. Did he know something was going to happen? Because he was killed, and I don't know how. Micklet was a short fella, and he was a nice young fella. Ivan O'Hara was from Indiana, and he's the only one that I've seen since getting out of service. I think he lived in Vincennes,
Okay.
and he came to Toledo, and I'm sorry, Charles Whipple lived there, and we ran around together. And O'Hara came and visited us for a couple of days. Carl Dow was from Maine, and he was a little uppity. He wanted you to salute him. Well, we saluted the death out of him, and he kind of gave up on that. And Ralph,
Okay. This is our second tape for 020020/21. And Harold, you were telling me about your crew.
well, then the last one that I hadn't mentioned was James Hopkins. He was a tail gunner, and he was a character. I was the only man that could get along with him. The other fellows didn't like him at all. He was a character, but I always went with him into town or played ping pong or did different things with him. But it wound up when we were captured, and at the end of the deal we were walking out in the country in groups of 50. Was living in barns at night, and one day we came along and here was a group sitting along the roadside, and all at once I hear Harold, and I look around and here's Jim Hopkins.
Huh.
He had been in the other group, and he said, "Can I walk along with you?" And I said, "Sure." He said, "Harold, I haven't had anything to eat for a week. Do you have any food that I could have?" And I said, "Well, my buddy and I, we cooked a lot of potatoes in the fire, and that's all we have, but you're welcome to have them." So we fed him for a week before we got any food. We got a little bit, but not much. Then near the end of the war, they wanted to try and fatten us up, so they went somewhere and got Red Cross parcels with food in it. And we each got one of those. And we went into the barn that afternoon, and we were allowed to make fires to cook if we wanted to. And so Jim and I and my buddy were around cooking, and I decided I wanted to go back to the barn. So I started back to the barn. I happened to look around, and here's Jim Hopkins eating the jelly out of my can. Well, that ended Jim and I. I swore and I said, "You get out of here."
That'll end the friendship.
That'll end a friendship, yeah.
Well, I don't think I'd want to be a tail gunner. I've heard too many bad stories about tail gunners.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they really, I don't know. I don't know if there's any worse position in the ship or not. I do know one of them that was in our prison camp. The plane blew up, and he was in the tail section, and it floated down like a leaf and landed in a tree, and he was the only one that escaped that out of that plane.
Wow. Wow.
He was in our prison camp.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Remember the name?
yeah.
You remember his name?
No, no.
No, that's boy.
No, I don't remember any of those people.
So you were in Needles. All right. Want to leave you off there, and we're going to catch up on John and see where he was. Okay, I had you at Eglin Air Force Base. Where did you go from there?
Well, actually, I went to the State Fair barn at Sarasota,
Okay.
and we slept in the chicken house. Now, what was the chicken showing place?
Okay.
And it was real wide open, basically.
Yeah.
And our bathing facilities was rather scarce because they didn't have showers in the there. But then we managed to keep clean. And then from there I went to Miami Beach.
Miami Beach. Now you were telling me, did you ship out from Miami?
I shipped out from Miami.
You were telling me that it was a cold day in Miami.
Oh, it
before.
sure was.
Tell me about
We
that.
left there the December the 21st, and it was actually snowed in Miami Beach, Florida, that evening before we got on the train. We about froze to death, and we had on long johns, and we had on that heavy wool winter coat, long, and I was going from there to Denver, Colorado, and to a gun maintenance school, and we had to tear down a 55 millimeter machine gun blindfolded and put it back together blindfolded, and I broke the record.
Yeah.
I guess I'll brag about that because
Okay.
I actually did. I broke the record, and I was asked to stay there by more people than one, but I had a cousin there, and he said, if you will stay, I will see that you never go anyplace else. And I did not want to be indebted to my second cousin. And when I told my dad, he said, I'm glad you decided not to stay there. And be indebted to somebody like that.
Yeah.
So
So what was the record? How do you remember how fast you
I
did it?
don't remember, but
Remember your cousin's name?
Pretty quick.
it was real quick, yeah.
Yeah. So
And then from Denver, and I had a cousin that lived in Denver besides him, and I used to go visit her quite often whenever I had 24 hours or more.
Remember the names?
Her name was Nora Morris, and she was a divorced lady, and she never had any children, but she loved really all of us. And I had known her before she went to Denver, and she was married to a doctor, and then they divorced after they got out there.
I've never quite figured out how you guys in the service, you start out at one place and then they send you all over the country before they actually send you where you're going.
Well, then I went to the aerial gun rear school from Denver, Colorado to Las Vegas, Nevada, and then we went out on the desert for actual gunnery training, and we flew B-17s, in B-17s, and we fired at the trail
Sleeve.
that a plane pulled to see how we could do with the out of the 50 millimeter machine gun.
So how they do that? You
They have a sleeve, a long sleeve, right? And then your bullets are color coded. And then the bullets go into the sleeve and leaves a paint mark.
Huh.
So then they know if you're red, how many you shot, and you're green, how many you got into the sleeve.
They take any points off if you shot each other?
No. But we had one, we flew in AT-6s down in Florida
Okay.
shooting, and one of the fellows was dumped into the Gulf. Pilot went up, dumped him into the Gulf. He parachuted. He was a hero when he come back to the gunnery school that night.
Oh, man.
But if there was ever been in a nudist camp, out on the desert was the nearest thing to a nudist camp that I ever expected to be in, because there was no
So-
women.
And so
And the-
hot. So hot.
Oh, hot.
yeah.
Anywhere from, we would leave ground at 106 or 7, maybe 110, and by the time we got up to 20,000 feet, we were on oxygen then. You would have all the clothes on you had with you because
Yeah.
it was cold.
Be 40 below, right?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah, almost.
Not quite that much on the
But-
desert, but,
No.
but
but-
it was cold.
Yeah, we're used to flying in pressurized airplanes and it's
Yeah.
just the right temperature.
Yeah.
Boy, it was cold, wasn't it?
Yes, it mighty cold.
They had no idea what. I saw it 65 below zero on one of our missions.
Wow.
My gloves went out once. I had my hands frostbitten. But I found out that they were out because they were starting to hurt. So I put them under my armpits. And then when I got down on ground and told them, well, they grounded me for a week.
Why?
Well, because they were
Oh,
frostbitten.
medical.
Yeah, medical.
So maybe
Yeah.
there was something wrong with what you'd done.
No. Medical.
Wow. So do you have any lingering effects from it?
My hands are red. That's the only thing I can tell you.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody with red hands like mine. That's the only thing I know.
Frostbite's a nasty thing. You could.
Well, I just got a little bit, you know.
Yeah. So you were a radio operator, right?
Right.
Okay. And you were telling me a little bit about your job on the plane.
I was called a toggler because I dropped the bombs. In pattern bombing, the lead planes had the bomb sight and the bombardier. And he would drop a smoke bomb, and when he dropped the smoke bomb, then we automatically dropped our bomb load.
Okay. So when you saw the smoke, you just pulled the switch and.
Just pulled the switch because we were on the identification point following the lead plane, and I had the control of the plane, even though we have a pilot and a co-pilot, because the bombardier or toggler has the control of the plane on the bomb run from the initial point to after bombs away. When you said bombs away, then the pilot took over immediately.
That had to be nerve-wracking for a pilot. I mean, here you are flying this thing, flak coming all around you.
Yeah, you
All you
try
want to do is just get out of
hold
there.
it in exactly the same pattern that you were flying in, because you've got a plane on one side or the other of you.
Yeah, you couldn't just peel off, could you?
Oh, no.
No.
The
No.
pilot,
Yeah.
the pilot does
They
that
couldn't do
later
that.
on. Because, but not until we got
Past the target.
past the target and usually over the English Channel to do that, to peel off. And sometimes you'd wait until you got even over the field in formation, and then you would peel off.
Okay. So did you have a bombardier or a toggler?
Bombardier.
A bombardier? So you had a Norton bomb sight on
Yes.
yours?
Good question. Now, all of the planes didn't have the Norton bomb sight?
No.
No.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's something I'm learning.
Well,
I thought they all had the Norton.
you had all these fellas went to bombardier school, and one guy has the bombardier sight, and there's all the guys like me that went to radio school, and there was only one man that was allowed to break radio silence in the whole group.
That was it.
Yep.
Well, I just learned something because
Yeah.
I thought all of the planes had the sight
No.
on board.
No,
Just a lead plane.
just the lead
Just the
plane.
lead plane.
Right.
How about that?
Now,
Of course, that's now there's lots of groups,
Yeah.
so each group would have a Norton sight.
Yeah.
Okay.
See?
Even though we were bombing the same target and the whole group, each squadron had their own bomb.
Bomb
Okay.
sight. Yeah.
Okay.
Bomber, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many planes were in a squadron?
There could be,
Well, how many planes were grouped around the one with
well,
the Norton bomb
there's
sight?
usually four,
You had the lead group, the top group, and the lower group, right?
yeah.
And you'd have 3, 6, 12 on it.
Yeah,
12 on the lead, 12 on the top group, and 12 in the low
bottom.
group. And this was
Because each-
tail end Charlie was the back group,
Yeah.
what they called it.
Yeah.
So that'd be 36 planes.
36 planes in each, usually in each group,
Mm-hmm.
or in each squadron.
I can see how the lead group would be out of the way, but it seemed to me like the top group would bomb the bottom group.
No.
No, you
Them
were
staggered.
separated.
You're
You were back.
separated.
You were back. The only time you got close is when there's fighters coming in.
Okay.
See,
Okay.
then you got together, so you had more firepower.
You know, I didn't think about that, but that makes sense. You would
Oh, yeah.
you would get together to protect each other,
Mhm.
Yeah.
because that was the strength of the flying
That's
force.
right.
Was the fact that there were so many guns on it.
Yeah.
And that's why you did not peel off until after you got close to the channel, or maybe over the channel,
Okay.
because the fighters would take any single plane, and if you had engine trouble
Oh,
or
yeah.
something,
Yeah.
they were 9 times out of 10 try to shoot you down,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they would.
and they would.
Yeah.
Because
That's the one they jumped on.
Oh, yeah.
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 I would hate to be in the tail end of that group, because it seemed like the front guys would wake up the dog and he'd be ready to bite by the time.
Well,
they
a
came
lot
over.
of times they'd come in from the front though,
Yeah.
the fighters.
Yeah.
Facing you.
Yeah, facing you. They seemed to think they had less firepower coming at them from the front, because you only had the top turret and the bottom turret,
Right.
and maybe one gun out of the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes some sense.
I suppose it would. And coming from the tail, you'd have the tail gunner and the top and bottom
And that's it.
turret, and so you really had about the same
And both waist gunners. And both waist gunners.
Well, the waist gunners though would be in between. Though.
Yeah, but they're
But
They're limited.
They're pretty flexible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they can't, they can get on one side of you or up above or down below, but they're limited.
So, how'd you guys get over there? I mean, what was your last stop in the States before you went to Europe?
Camp just a couple of days in New Jersey, I don't
Kilmer?
remember. Huh?
What was it, Kilmer?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. There was just a shipping out point, you know, and I went over on the Queen Elizabeth.
Okay.
okay.
Mhm.
All right. Seems like if you had a B-17, you'd fly over it.
Well, they had a lot more crews going over than they had planes going over,
Yeah.
see. We were just a replacement crew. There was other crews that flew B-17s over,
Okay.
but we were a replacement crew.
So,
When I got to my base in England in November of '43, there had only been one crew that had completed 25 missions. All the rest of the crews that had been there had been shot down. And there was one other crew that completed the missions while I was there. Everybody else was shot down.
that's not very encouraging, is it?
No. No.
So where was your base?
In England, about 80 miles north of London. I can't tell you the name. It's just a little town. I don't remember the name of the town.
And you arrived there when?
In November of '43.
Okay. All right, so how about the trip over?
Wasn't bad.
Wasn't bad?
Queen Elizabeth was all by herself because the subs couldn't catch her.
Right.
And then we went down the southern route and come up the Azores into Scotland.
Okay.
So we really didn't have any problems on that.
Well, that's kind of a dip down. And
Well,
yeah,
it dipped
yeah.
down, but
Yeah.
that was they were trying to stay away from what subs were around, you know.
Right.
But it was fast enough that they couldn't catch up to her.
What'd you think of the ocean?
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. I watched the jumping fish, the
Oh, it's
flying fish. I loved that.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So, John, how about you? How did?
Well, we went from Tampa, Florida to someplace in Georgia. And we picked up not the plane that we had planned on or thought we was going to take. We picked up a different plane, but the instruments had been tabulated anyway. And then we landed unauthorized. We landed in Annapolis, Michigan, or Annapolis,
Maryland?
Maryland, because our co-pilot's brother was commanding officer of the naval base there, and he wanted to stop and see his brother. So, unauthorized, we landed. Now that's no kidding.
Nice.
And we weren't on the ground long, and nobody left the plane except the pilot and the co-pilot.
Huh.
And then from there, we went to Bangor, Maine, and we was in Bangor, Maine for 2 days. And then from there, we flew to Goose Bay, Labrador, and we was there for, I think, 7 days. And that was my first trip of ice fishing.
Which was colder, Miami or Goose Bay?
Well, Goose Bay wasn't as bad as Miami. Even though it was below zero, but then your atmosphere is different and your moisture contents is different. So actually Miami was one of the coldest places I was ever at,
Yeah.
basically. Then of course we went to Iceland, and we was in Iceland for 4 days, and we had 45 minutes to land in Iceland. That's how long it was supposed to be daylight. But it wasn't true daylight to me. It was more like twilight here of an evening or of a morning. And then we went from there to Valley, Wales, and was shot at about before we landed in Valley, Wales.
Good grief.
And then we was transferred from there then to our base, which was, I was at Framingham, England.
Okay.
And that's 12 miles on the east of the coast of the English Channel.
Now, you were shot at by what, a fighter plane or?
Fighter plane,
Yeah.
yeah. ACAC gun, maybe not a plane, but on the ground. They had ACAC on the ground.
Oh, okay.
They fired at us.
The
We
Germans,
don't know
Germans or
why.
the English?
Yeah. So we didn't know why, but we were shot at that time.
What was the Germans or the English firing on you?
Well, it was English.
English?
Or-
You didn't give the right code.
And you want my crew member's name?
Well, one too many Yanks. You can't have another one here. Well, okay. First of all, give me what's the time frame? When did you get over there?
December the 21st of 44.
Okay.
Got to our base the 25th of in 44.
Huh.
On
Christmas Day.
Yeah.
Oh, we darn. Okay, now tell me about your crew. Can you give me some
Okay,
names
our-
and a little something about them?
Our pilot was Ernest Yeager, and he had been in the regular army and did a hitch and that before he went to pilot's training. And he was born in Georgia, and our co-pilot was Camel, and he was from Minnesota. And our navigator was from Massachusetts. And I get a letter from him every Christmas. Can't even tell you his name right now. And then our radio man was from Texas, and he just died. Gosh, I guess wish I'd brought that list with me. I didn't.
Okay.
And our waist gunner was from Pennsylvania, and he died young. And then our radio man was Jack Webster, and he and I run around together some. And our turret gunner was born and raised in Nebraska, and never hear from him. But I had his name at home. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
And our tail gunner was Gene Cohey, and we have visited back and forth 2 or 3 times. And our whole crew got together in Memphis, Tennessee, and we all were there except the engineer and the co-pilot. And then in Atlanta, Georgia, our co-pilot, who was Camel, joined, he and his wife joined us, and there was the pilot, the co-pilot, and the radio man, and the tail gunner, and myself were there.
You were telling me that you went to Memphis, and they let you go up inside the Memphis Belle?
Yes,
Yeah, I remember you telling me that
Yeah.
story.
I've been through the Memphis Belle.
Now, the Memphis Belle, was that a B-17?
It's
Yep.
a B-17,
Mhm.
and it's on Mud Island, and it's being restored to flying condition.
Hmm.
Whether they ever make it or not, I don't know.
Wow.
But when our radio man died, he had worked at that museum, and instead of sending flowers, we sent money, and they donated it to the Memphis Belle.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Now, I've been inside a B-17. I've got some picture of what it's like. It's to me, it's just a big I-beam with things stuck on it, and they put a little skin around it and threw it up in the air. It's
The other
it doesn't
odd-
look like a very comfortable aircraft.
The other odd thing, we flew our missions in the same airplane that we flew to England.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How
That's
about you, Bert?
very,
Did you do
very
that?
unusual. That usually doesn't happen. And I can remember three numbers of it, but I can't remember anymore. It was 074.
074. What was? Did it have a name?
Yes, the Spirit of St. Louis.
Spirit of St. Louis.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you? Did you stay in the same plane
Yeah.
while you were there?
I was shot down in the same plane we started in.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did it have a name on it? Or?
Clean cut.
Clean cut.
Clean cut. Yep.
Well, it's a couple of good clean cut names.
Yeah, yeah.
Some of those names I don't know because. Yeah. Any kind of artwork or anything on it?
No, no,
just,
no
just the
artwork.
name.
No.
We had a beautiful lady on ours.
Did you have a G, B-17G, with a gun, with the turret guns on the nose?
I don't remember.
Okay, you probably did. 'Cause,
Probably.
we were flying an F, and that just had one 50 caliber out the nose, and the G's had a box like with two 50s out, and they were slower than the F, so our pilot always had to hold back
Okay.
because we were flying mostly with Fs or with G's.
Huh. Wow. It
It's
seemed like
more air resistant. See?
Oh, the resistance.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So the only improvement was a little better nose gun.
Yeah, you had
but
two
lost
instead
it.
of one. Yeah.
And then on the last ones, they had a 37 millimeter in the nose, just one.
Oh, did they? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't have, we had
Mhm.
50 caliber.
Mhm.
So I've got this picture now. I've seen the Radio Shack where you would have been,
Mhm.
and that looks like the most luxurious accommodations on the plane to me.
Well, yeah, yeah,
Not very big,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
yeah. You had more room. It was more comfortable, and the tail gunner and the two waist gunners were backing into one another. And then the ball turret, I wouldn't want to be down there. And then up in the nose, that was pretty crowded too, wasn't it, John? Huh?
Because
Yeah.
the Navigator and,
The
Toggle
bombardier
there,
were
bombardier.
right together.
but the Navigator had a little desk that he
Yeah.
worked on.
Yeah.
okay, now I'm trying to remember this. I know there were a couple of seats that came off this I-beam, one for the pilot and the co-pilot,
Yes,
Mhm.
and then the toggle air would have been
right in the front.
right in the front,
And the Navigator was,
sort of below and forward. of the
Below and
pilots.
forward of the pilot and the co-pilot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you had a gunner up there, and you had a toggle air up there.
Well, no, you didn't.
The
The
bombardier.
bombardier was the one that, or the navigator, one of those two would shoot the gun.
was
Oh,
the
okay.
gunner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so he doubled his.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I guess if
We
you
had credit for 2.5 planes shot down.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you get half a plane? Oh,
Well,
the other guy got.
Somebody else got credit for it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you got more than one plane shooting at them, see.
Yeah. Which half did you get credit for, the right or the left?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So the bombardier or toggle air and the navigator would be up front, kind of
Oh,
underneath.
Mm-hmm.
You go back, and the bomb bay was spooky to me.
The
The
bomb
idea
bay.
of having the bomb bay open and having nothing but that I-beam to walk across.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Did you ever walk across that
Sure.
when it was
Yeah.
open?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It seemed like the wind would just pull you right out of there or
Yeah.
something.
Isn't that where the pilots bailed out?
Yeah.
They'd bail out of there.
They
Yeah.
usually bailed
Right.
out of there
Yeah.
because the hatch that they had was real small.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So the four of you up front probably would have gone out through the bomb bay, and then the waist gunners, did they have doors that they
We
could
had
get
a
out?
side door.
And
The radio operator and the gunners and the ball turret went out the side door.
Okay.
And the tail gunner, he got out of the tail some way, but I forget how that was.
Now, could you the tail gunner, could he move about the plane, or
Well,
did
he's
he
laying on his stomach.
laying on his stomach? It looked to me as though he got in from a door on the outside.
No, I think he came in the side door.
Okay.
In the
Side door, yeah.
Okay. But could he get to any other part of the plane if he had to, or?
Well, he could if he
stuck
wanted to.
He
He just
could, yeah.
shoved himself back,
Oh, okay.
and he wouldn't get in there until you went over, when you were going over the channel,
Okay.
see?
All right.
And then when you come back and you're back over the channel, then he could come back into with the waist gunners.
So he's laying down the whole time.
But he was laying down all the whole time, yeah.
Oh. Did they ever go to sleep on him when they were laying down there?
We blamed him. We blamed him.
Those are long missions, right?
I remember once that I called the attack at like 7 o'clock,
Yeah.
which he should have called, and I'm sure he was sleeping. I'm sure he was.
We see you were awakened anywhere from
4 o'clock in
three-
the morning.
What time?
4 usually, wasn't it?
3 or 4?
3 to 4.
And 4 was late, really. 3 was early, but then if you knew you were going to be gone 9 hours, and a lot of times we would be called at 3 o'clock in the morning. And you had time to take a shower and go eat breakfast, then go to briefing, and then you didn't sit in your plane very long on the runway.
No,
Now, did you go to briefing as a crew or?
As
as a crew.
As the
Okay.
whole group that
The
was
whole
going to fly
group.
that day, everybody that was going to fly that day from your squadron, you went to briefing.
Okay, but I talked to a B-24 pilot, and he said that he and his co-pilot and maybe the navigator went to one briefing, and then the rest of his crew went to another briefing. The way they had it set up at
No,
their
that's
base.
different. That's different from
That
our
was
group.
different. That was different than
Yeah,
from
yeah.
our group.
Yeah.
Our pilot and co-pilot, now they eat in a different place,
Okay.
but we all ended up at the same place
Mhm.
for briefing.
So they gave you the briefing, and at that point you knew where you were going, didn't you?
Yeah.
At the briefing,
Mhm.
yes. And they usually gave you an idea whether flak would be heavy or light. But the Germans had their ack-ack guns mounted on railroad cars. And that's one reason they bombed railroads like they did, was to keep them from moving that slack
Oh.
to different places where they thought we might be flying a mission. And we bombed quite a few railroads for that reason.
Were there any targets that were tougher than others?
Well, there was, yes, because flak was a lot harder. at times.
They had like along the Rhine River, they called it Flak Valley.
Yeah,
That was the worst place to fly over.
I hadn't heard that.
Oh yeah,
Flak
Flak Valley. Yeah.
Flak Valley.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So
You'd be in there and those those shells would go off and it was like gravel. Somebody throwing gravel at your plane.
Then you'd land with holes in the fuselage.
Holes all over the place.
All over.
Yeah.
So what do they do? They just patch them up at night, or just
Well,
leave them there?
Oh, they'd patch them up at night if they were going out the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the mechanics working those planes? You interact with them
They,
very much?
they
or-
worked
No,
pretty
they
hard.
worked, but we weren't around them at all, except when we took off. That's the only time, or they'd meet us when we landed. But otherwise, you didn't have anything to do with them.
Our engineer, ground engineer, or whatever you want to call him, name was Camel also, which was kind of unusual.
Yeah.
But he was not the Camel that went to basic with me. So he was from Kansas.
Did you have any targets that you thought, well, you know, I like being sent over this target because this is fairly easy, or were they all just really tough? Or?
Submarine pens along the French coast was a milk run. That was the easiest.
Yeah.
They usually would send you on that on your 25th mission.
Oh, really?
Yeah. If you got that, if you got up to 25, that's where they would send you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. It's interesting. You would have thought it would have been pretty uniform, but we did a B-25 co-pilot who had to do 50 missions before he could get out.
We had to do 30 when we got there.
Okay, and you had to do
25.
25?
So I had 26. I had 4 more to go.
Wow. So,
But the war ended, thank heavens.
that's a good reason to come short of
Yeah,
your
but
30.
before the war ended, we had word from the Germans that they would not fire on us if we flew food missions over Holland, because people in Holland were starving to death. And Germans had taken all their food. And we had to go in formation at 500 feet, go out over the North Sea and peel off. And then we came back single file. And I was on the right side of the lead pilot that day. We were the second bomber to drop food at 500 feet. But I never saw as many American flags in my life. I never expect to see that many again, because everybody that was out or windows were open, they had a flag of some size waving it.
All the darn.
And then the next day, I flew the next one. I flew 3 before I got a rest on food. And the food was put in gunny sacks, big ones. And if it was 5 pounds of flour, it was in one big gunny sack. And after we had been on this first mission, then went back on the second, on the moats, they had "Thank you, boys, God bless you, many thanks," or different things like that. And in tulip blooms, because this was May. And
Tulips?
you absolutely have no idea of the beauty that we saw at that time because of the tulip field and the blooms that they had put on the moat, spelling out different things.
That's incredible. That is something.
But the American flags, everybody, whether they were standing on the street or if they were looking out a window, they had flags. And I don't have any idea where they came from. Now, our first mission, the straw stacks parted, and the ack-ack guns was right over there, right there. The barn roofs parted, and we could almost see the opening of the barrel of the guns because we were 500 feet, so
But they didn't shoot at you?
didn't shoot at us.
If they had.
Those were rough flights, I'll guarantee you. I never expect to be that rough in another airplane.
Yeah, now, I had heard Herschel's dad was wounded on the Siegfried line, and they flew him across the channel, and he said that was rougher than the ocean voyage coming over. Were the currents pretty strong over the channel, air currents? Or
Yes.
did you just happen to hit them?
They might have hit one day when it was worse than others.
Yeah.
But it was pretty rough.
Did you experience that, Harold? Did you?
Yeah, some. I mean, it's been a long time. I don't.
Was it?
I know we used to drop every now and then from a
Oh, yeah.
air pocket.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Been on some rough ones.
yeah.
Let's see. We'll get one more out of you, and then I want to get some more from Harold. You said you went on a couple of missions over Berlin.
Yes.
That's a long flight. That's
Some of them were 9 hours long.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So when you got there, did you get any kind of resistance to speak of, or?
Usually we had quite a bit of flak over Berlin.
Yeah. Was there any special target, or was it just the idea of bombing Berlin?
No, we had a special, but I don't remember what. One of them was the railroad
Railroad
junction.
yards would be.
Yeah. Okay.
One of them was the railroad junction. I can remember that and then they showed us pictures, reconnaissance planes finally. Sometimes they would be able to get over and take pictures of where we had bombed.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes we got to see them and sometimes we didn't, so.
Okay. All right. So
That's probably good.
that's good. Okay. We'll stop. Okay, 020020/21. Tape 3. And Harold, tell me about some of your missions. What some of the tougher ones that you had besides the one where you were shot down?
Oh, well, probably the roughest one was we went pretty deep into Germany. I don't remember the target, but when we come back over the channel, England was all practically clouded over with fog. So we had to land at a base just beyond the White Cliffs of Dover, and we went and landed, and it was so foggy that we couldn't take off. So the pilot and the co-pilot stayed at that base, and they loaded the rest of us up in trucks to take us back to our base. Well, that was probably like 7 o'clock at night. Come midnight, and we hadn't got back there yet. The drivers didn't know where they were at.
Oh,
We drove all night long in those old army trucks,
oh, gee.
and finally we got home after midnight. And if you wanted to ever see a bunch of mad men, they were really mad.
They didn't call you up at 3 the next morning,
No,
did they?
no.
They pretty much let you go.
They knew we wouldn't be ready to go.
Wow.
And then another mission was we had a different bombardier with us. He was a Jewish fella. I forget what happened to our bombardier, but he couldn't fly with us on this particular mission. And when we went over into Germany, we flew over this flak valley. And the first time that it was really just black with flak in the sky. And I was hollering, and the tail gunner was hollering, and the Jewish bombardier was talking to us very quietly, trying to calm us.
Huh.
Well, we finally got through there, but that was about the roughest that we had experienced in any of our flights into Germany.
As a rule, when you went on a mission, was there a moment at which you really kind of tensed up and thought, you know, this is...
Whenever you saw fighters, you tensed up.
Okay.
I remember once, it was a beautiful day, and I looked behind me, and here was black dots all over the sky. We were over Germany. Just black dots all over the sky. I thought, my gosh, are those German fighters coming? Well, what it was squadron after squadron of B-17s and B-24s all going into Germany, and we were the first ones.
Good
That
thing
was
you
a
didn't
tense.
shoot.
That was a tense moment when I saw all those black spots back of us.
I had a B-17 fly over my house one time. It landed out at the Anderson Airport and was there for a couple of days. And I could just imagine, you know, plane after plane.
Yeah.
Those are such big
Yeah,
planes
yeah,
anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Big tails on them.
yeah. But that were probably the two most tense flights I had, except for being shot down.
Except for being shot
Yeah.
down. Now, did you get a lot of fighter resistance, or had it
No, not.
toned down some?
We always wanted to fly near the 100th bomb group. If we flew near the 100th bomb group, we knew we'd be safe. And a number of times we got to fly with them. The 100th bomb group was wiped out I don't know how many times. And the reason that happened was some of their tail gunners shot down German pilots in their chutes. And the Germans knew it was the 100 bomb group, so they were always looking for them.
Yeah.
And they'd wipe them out. Do you remember that, John?
Oh, yeah.
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 Even as late as we started flying, they were always after the 100th bomb group.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't make any difference.
Yeah. I probably would be too if they.
Well,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's something that doesn't happen too often. There was this Norm Tiefel that we interviewed, the B-25 co-pilot, said that wrote in one of his diaries that apparently one of their planes got shot down, and a German fighter came in and shot the guy as he was parachuting.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't too long after that, a British plane came along, and then he shot the German fighter. And
Yeah.
when he was bailing out, they finished him off
Yeah,
on the way down. I mean,
yeah.
that's not
Yeah,
something you guys did too often.
no, that's right, that's right. Yeah.
Was there any particular fighter that was tougher than another? Did any of them stand out?
ME-109s are the ones I didn't like.
109.
Boy, ME-109, Messerschmitt 109.
What was their?
Well, they just seemed to attack better. They come in closer.
Yeah.
And they seemed to be faster too.
And then, of course, the Germans actually had jet fighters before the United States had
Mhm.
jet fighters.
But they could only make one pass.
But they could only make one
Yeah,
pass.
yeah. And then they had to go back to the field because they didn't have enough fuel to do any more. See,
Did you guys ever see the jet fighters?
I saw them training when I was walking in Germany.
Hmm.
That's all.
When we made a mission over Holland, we bombed a German jet air base and did a lot of destroying of planes and the runway because there was almost 1,000 planes went over that base that day. And of course, everybody dropping their bombs on the lead plane, you can imagine what it would do to the runway.
Mhm.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Yep.
Did he? Was it frustrating to bomb something and then fly over it in a few days after that and find that they'd already fixed it? Did they fix things up pretty quickly?
Well, I never knew anything about it.
Yeah.
They said they did.
Some of the
They said they
railroads,
did.
yes, they get them repaired real quick because then they can move their fighter or their ACAC guns to different locations.
Did you seem to keep hitting the same targets over and over? Or
Frankfurt's the only one I went to twice. Frankfurt. That was railroad yards.
Okay.
We went to Berlin twice.
So
How many times we went to Frankfurt? Whether we did, I don't know.
While you're looking that up, what was your payload? As far as you
He
got any
might
idea?
have. I have no idea.
We would carry 4,000 pounds of bombs. We would carry two 2,000-pound bombs, or we would carry 500-pound bombs, or we'd carry 250-pound bombs. And when you carried 250-pound bombs, you always had incinerator bombs in that load.
Mhm.
And that was to damage personnel on the ground as much as anything. And that would work. Because the 250-pound bomb, when it burst, it would have little pieces of metal that just scattered all over
Yeah.
every place.
So did you hit battlefields any, or was it all cities?
That'd be fighters that do that.
Yeah.
Fighter base
Yeah.
usually don't
I mean,
have-
battlefields to help our troops.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be bombers.
Okay.
I don't think.
I don't think so either.
No, it'd be fighter
It'd be
planes.
fighter planes,
Yeah.
because fighter planes hit the base that I was on.
Yeah.
I would think some major breakout or something, if maybe it might.
Well, you remember the bulge? The only thing you ever hear mentioned about bombers is they were dropping supplies when the fog lifted, but you never heard of them dropping bombs
Yeah.
on the Germans.
You drop these supplies. You have a parachute drop, or
Well, that's what they would have
Just get-
used. Yeah. Yeah.
Now, we didn't, when we dropped food over Holland, we had no
you just
parachute.
flew low and dropped it out.
Yes, just flew low and.
No, they could have done the same thing. I wasn't there. I don't know, but I know that was the bombers that come in and dropped supplies to them after the fog lifted.
What was your toughest mission, John?
Probably one over Berlin because of the ACAC guns was so intense that day that it just looked like you could get out and walk on it. It was just, but it was below us most of the time. Just once in a while that would get up high enough to hit the plane.
Did Hitler ever shake his fist at you when you were?
No,
Didn't see him?
no.
He was in his bomb shelter.
I bet he was. Yeah. It's a typical politician, raise a
Right.
stink and then
That's
go
right.
for the hills.
That's right.
Oh, boy. Well, Harold, you had one mission that didn't go so well.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that one.
Well, like I say, told you about my pilot. And from reading I have a description of the whole day's events. There was 50 planes knocked down that day. That's combined B-17s and B-24s. And that's 500 men. And now that 500 men, there were 193 killed, which is around 40%. And you read the paper today on these conflicts they're having, and if 3 people are killed, it's a major crisis.
Yeah, yeah.
But here's one day, and then there's 193 killed. But our group was sort of messed up from what I read, and then we fell in with somebody else to make our bomb run, and we were hit by fighter planes. And there was 5 planes out of our group that were shot down that day.
Wow.
So that's 50 men. They were coming in mostly from the front. Our plane was on fire twice, and the bombardier and the navigator got it out. And I had must have been a 9mm cannon shell, came over my head and took the vertical stabilizer and just peeled it off like tin foil.
Wow.
Split it in 2. And finally, they couldn't get the 3rd fire out in the nose of the plane, so the pilot or the co-pilot told us to abandon ship. So I pulled off my oxygen and went in with the waist gunners, and they hadn't heard that. So we had to knock on the ball turret gunner and get him up out of there so he'd get out of the plane. Well, we got him going up, so the one waist gunner and I went over, and you were supposed to pull a pin and the door would fall out so you could bail out. We couldn't get the pin to pull. So I got in there and I finally forced the door open and I fell out. And I counted to 10 and I was going head over heels. They said count to 10 to get out of the firepower. Well, then I finally got myself straightened out and I pulled the ripcord, but nothing happened.
Oops.
So I started screaming, "Mother, mother, mother," and I got 2 hands pulling,
Yeah.
and then finally it snapped. And I must have passed out from lack of oxygen. And then I woke up, I was coming down through the clouds, and I landed in a field, and there was a German soldier coming across the road down into the field, because they had them out in the countryside, young fellows and wounded veterans watching for shoots. And while I was laying on the ground there, a German fighter plane come down and buzzed me, so I know he was radioing where I was at. So that's what happened. And I think what happened with that shoot, I wore a flak over my backpack parachute.
Yeah.
And I think it bent the pins. The weight of that's the only thing I can figure out.
Wow. That's
But
scary.
I always wanted a backpack because when you were fighting or whatever you were doing, you had your chest chute sitting off to the side. Well, a lot of guys couldn't find their chest chutes when they were told to bail out. Or if you blew out of the plane, a lot of guys would get out of the plane, you had your back chute on, see?
Right.
So that's why I always had one. But it was fun.
Have you ever jumped out of a plane since?
No, and I don't intend to.
First, last, no.
I don't intend
I was
to.
gonna say, your sense of fun is not mine, so.
No.
Boy, it'd be tough. I'm not sure I could do it.
Yeah.
I guess you do what you have
Oh
to
yeah,
do.
when you've seen a B-17 go poof, and that's it, you know you better get out.
Better get out.
Because our plane went straight down, they say in this report. crashed.
So,
And the waist gunner, the other waist gunner that was helping me trying to get that door open, he went out and the door banged on his foot and he hung in the air.
oh gee,
And the only way he got out is when the plane blew up
wow.
and threw him out. And the other waist gunner, or the ball turret gunner, he couldn't get out the door because the big guy was wedged in there. So he jumped out the waist window, and he had only had one side of his chest chute hooked, and he went in head first into a barbed wire fence, and it took him right around,
Oh gee,
just like that.
wow. So, you said there were two fellas died?
Yeah, the top turret and the pilot were killed. And then the bombardier was wounded, and I was wounded, and the fellow went into the barbed wire fence. Why, that was in battle, so we call him wounded too.
Yeah.
And he was a mess for months.
So he survived it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
What was the pilot? He stayed with the plane, or
I don't know. I don't know. We found not I didn't, but the other crew members found the top turret gunner hanging in a tree. And he had one bullet hole through the back of his head. Now, whether he got that in his chute or whether the pilot threw him out after he'd been shot, we don't know. We don't know.
You raised a point where several of the planes in your group were shot down or taken out of action. Who actually regroups stragglers like that? There were bound to have been times when you had to get in with another group.
Oh yeah, you
Well,
always
was it-
look for another group to, I mean, that happened to us a couple of times. Once we were taking off and the co-pilot forgot to lock the tail wheel,
Oops.
and I felt the rumbling on the plane, and the plane stopped, and I looked out, and we were 50 yards from the tower, running into the tower. So we had to back up and get out to the runway and take off again. Well, our group was gone then, see?
Yeah.
So we had to fall in on the tail end of another group over there.
But when you were over, still over the continent, and you had planes around you being shot down, and you had to regroup, was it a decision of the pilot, or who actually?
Well, you didn't
Got you
get
back
scattered though.
You
You
just
didn't
sort
get
of
scattered. You stayed together.
Okay.
You know, maybe two over here were shot down, but you still stayed together. You didn't get scattered. The only time you would leave is when you were shot down, because you're more safety in numbers than
Right.
out by yourself. Because that's where the German fighters would go, or for those loners.
So you landed, and the Germans got to you pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, yeah.
What'd they do? Where'd you go from there?
Well, he took me into a tavern and sat me down and gave me a glass of ginger ale, and the sergeant there, he got on the telephone and talked to somebody, and then in the afternoon, why, the soldier that got me took me to a railroad station, and we got on a train and rode somewhere to a town, and they took me into like a German barracks. Like there was a bunch of Germans over here, and then there was two more Americans in this hallway, and we slept on straw that night, the three of us.
Okay.
And then they took us by train into Frankfurt, and they put us into solitary confinement for a couple of days. Then they took us out of there and took us into a building, and they took all your clothes off and gave you an issue of GIs, just plain GI clothes, and that's what you wore. And then eventually you were shipped out by a railroad car up to your prison camps.
So they do any kind of torture or interrogation?
Well, not too much.
Okay.
I went in, I was interrogated, and the guy knew what base I was from, and when I got into England, and where I trained in the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I wonder how you found that out.
they had their spies over here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow. That really drives home what they were trying to tell you back home, just to
Yeah.
keep your mouth
He said
shut.
to me, "For you, the war is over. For you, the war is over."
I suppose that was a standard line. to
Yeah.
give
Oh yeah.
everybody.
Everybody.
The
Yeah.
war is over.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where'd they take you?
Took me to East Prussia, Stalag 6,
6, okay.
up in East Prussia. And I was there till, that was February, and I was there till latter part of June. And the Russians were coming into the Baltic. So they loaded us on trains, cattle cars like cattle. Took us up to the Baltic Sea and put us on an ore ship like you would see on the Great Lakes, where the sides go down like this.
Yes.
You have about that much foot space, so you would sit one right after the other up the side.
Huh.
That's the only way you could, get down. They had one ladder that went up to the restroom, and we probably had 500 men in the whole of that ship.
Wow.
We were down in that ship for 3 days and 2 nights. And then
Pretty
we
miserable.
went to some port somewhere on the Baltic, and they got us off and got us onto another train and took us down somewhere and let us out, and we were handcuffed together, and they made us run, and we didn't know where we were going. And if you fell down and you pulled your buddy down, they stabbed you with a bayonet. Finally we got to a field, and then we sat in the field, and you could see the new prison camp off maybe 500 yards. And finally that night they took us into the new prison camp.
Tell me about Left 6. What was it like?
Well, it wasn't too bad. You had brick barracks, and didn't have too much food. You had to get used to the food that they gave you. Your bread was like sawdust, and the jelly that you ate was made out of beets, and they gave you barley and a few potatoes. And what you really got any good out of was Red Cross parcels, about this big. Sometimes you'd get 4 men to 1 for a week. Sometimes it'd be 2 men for 1. If it was a good week, you got a whole one yourself.
Huh.
See?
Did they come fairly regular? Or?
Well, we don't know that. The Germans put them in warehouse, and they divvied them out the way they wanted to do it.
Ah,
See?
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Could you get mail in and out, Andy?
Oh yeah, yeah. We were allowed to send 4 postcards and 2 letters a month, and then we would get mail from our folks. Yeah.
So your folks knew fairly soon where you were and
Well, I've got
rough idea.
something here to show you a little bit. Here's a letter from shortwave operators all up and down the coast. They'd listen to the German broadcast, shortwave broadcasts, and the Germans would tell who was captured or who was killed. So I've got 3 or 4 different letters like that from shortwave radio people. And that my folks knew I was a prisoner of war before the government
Knew it.
knew it. I told
Wow.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's I hadn't heard
Yeah.
that either. That's a good story.
Yeah.
Could we copy this?
Yeah.
Copy this?
Mhm.
Is it fired up?
Yeah.
Still good?
Then here's a telegram that my folks got saying I had been returned to military control.
Military control.
Yeah, I was under the American military after being liberated from
Oh, liberated from the camps?
the camp. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from Germany.
Yeah.
Here, you can read that.
Okay. Secretary of War desires me to inform you that your son returned to military control.
Here's another short.
Get that too. The message addressed to you was read this evening on a shortwave radio broadcast from Berlin. In fact, it read, Harold Miles is a prisoner of war. I trust this information will be of help to you. I am a blind man and have been a shortwave listener for years. I am a member of the SWAM Club of 1175 Hazel Street, Lima, Ohio. Join us. Otis E. Denson, 2515 6th Avenue North, Apartment D, Birmingham, Alabama. I'll be darned. Did you ever get a chance to meet these
No,
fellows or
no,
contact them in any way?
No, I haven't.
Well, that'd be interesting.
There's a letter my dad sent to me, and then it was returned because missing in action.
Wow. V-mail.
Yeah.
We'll get that too. When he gets back, I'll let him. We didn't have that. You're the second fellow that's told us that the bread tasted like sawdust.
No, that's exactly what it tastes like.
Yeah.
Yes.
You
It
suppose
took-
they were putting sawdust
It
in it?
took
or-
months. It took months to get used to that, but after a while, when you got hungry, it tasted pretty good. Really, really.
Yeah, I bet
Yeah.
it would.
Yeah,
And I'd heard some awful stories about the barley soup, some of the stuff that was in it.
yeah, 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 yeah.
That would have been kind of tough to eat some of that.
Yeah, but you were so hungry you ate anything.
Yeah.
When I was shot down, I weighed about 185, and when I was liberated, I weighed 120. Because we've been marching from February 6th till May 2nd, and on VE Day, my waist gunner John and I went into Brussels, and they were having a big celebration. The war had ended. And he and I had our picture taken in a booth. And I showed the picture to my mother when I got home. She said, "Well, who are these two fellas?"
Gee.
She didn't even recognize
My
me.
mother didn't recognize you.
No.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Yep.
So the second prison camp,
Mm-hmm.
what was that one like? Say it was a new camp?
Yeah, in the first camp we had English. And in this camp they were all American. And it was new. Well, we slept for, I think all the time I was there, we slept on the floor. We never had a bed.
Oh, really?
And when we first went in, they didn't have all of the barracks completed, and they put us into what we called dog pens. You had to crawl in a hole, and there were 6 of us in these dog houses like. Finally they got the barracks completed so we could get out of the dog houses and go into regular barracks.
Doghouse.
Yes, but we never had a bed. Never had a bed in those barracks.
Wow.
Slept on the floor.
How did the guards treat you in general?
Oh, we never had too much trouble with them. We had one we called Big Stoot. They hung him after the war was over. He was a nasty one. They hung him somewhere.
What kind of things would he do?
Oh, slapped some guys around a little bit.
Did you ever have any thought of trying to escape? Or
No, no. You're too far into Germany and East Prussia. What are you going to do?
yeah,
You know, you don't have any guns, and you got all the people are, especially at the end, the civilians were allowed to shoot to kill if they saw somebody. So they always said, "Stay with us. Your safety is in numbers." And that's what I did.
so they taught you that at the air base back in England. They taught you.
No.
was
This was our fellows that were ahead of the prisoners, Americans, said stay together. Yeah.
That's probably just as well because
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't that long before you were.
Well, you didn't know where you were anyway. I had no idea where I was in Germany.
And you had to have known that our troops were advancing.
Oh
and
yeah,
eventually would get
when
there.
we'd be walking along the road, these fighter planes would come along and wiggle their wings at us as we were walking
Oh,
along
really?
the road, and the German guards would fly off into the ditches.
I hadn't heard that story.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't have done anything for you except give you a little encouragement.
Yeah, that's right. But they knew that we had seen them, and they were close by, so.
A fighter plane would have to be fairly close by. It wouldn't have the range of a bomber. So.
Oh, yeah. One day we went into a barn, and it was nice, and they said we could build fires. And they told us to get in the barn about 6 o'clock that night. Woke up the next morning, went out, and here they'd set up a NVHA gun behind the barn, and here was British Spitfires coming in shooting that thing down. Don't think we didn't scatter behind the stone walls.
Yeah, you were probably as much at risk of being a target of our guys
Oh,
as
yeah,
you were.
yeah. They were too close for comfort.
So you were in the 2 prison camps. Did they move you to any others?
No. Well, we started to walk February 6th, and they moved us into an international camp for 2 days so we could get a bath. And that was the only bath we had from February 6th till May 2nd.
Wow.
And sleeping in barns, we were covered with lice.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And they deloused us in this international camp, but in a week we all had lice again.
So where did you wind up in that?
Well, they got us up one morning real early, and they marched us across the Elbe River, and we stayed in the barn that night. But about 2 o'clock, they got us up and marched us out, and you could hear the British guns. They were that close, so we knew they weren't too far away. So they marched across the Elbe River again, into another barn, and we laid there for 3 days, and finally they sent out a couple of our men with a white flag and German soldiers, and they found the British, and the British came in and liberated us.
It had to be great.
Yeah, and they said, but you're going to have to walk down to the river before we can get trucks. So we had to walk all the way down to the river to get trucks. Get a boat to go across the river and then get trucks there. And there was one town on this side of the river that was completely demolished. So the Germans made us stand there. And this other town on the other side wasn't touched at all. And that's where we went.
You remember the date?
Well, I was liberated May 2nd, so that would have been in May 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
War was just about over at that point.
Yeah, 6 days later, it was over.
Was it? Okay.
The next day, probably the next day, May 4th, they flew us out of there to Brussels in the English plane.
Now, Norm Tiefel says that when they liberated him, he stood in some sort of a line for 2 days, a delousing line or some kind of a processing thing.
No.
They didn't do that to you?
Wasn't that to get his voucher home?
It had something to do with processing to getting him home.
Yeah, but that was I think that was in San Diego, that he spent 2 days, or those guys spent 2 days in line, and he didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was to get him, after they got back to the States, that was to get him home.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And he went to his shack so he wouldn't have to.
Okay. Did you have any guys that you remember from the prison camp that stood out?
Well, the fellow that was the head honcho of the Americans was almost like a general, and he talked to the Germans and seemed to be able to get a few things for us. But he was a good man, but I don't know where he went after we made our June move. I never saw him again.
Remember what his name was?
No, I don't.
No?
The only name I can remember now is a fella that was a National League baseball umpire, Augie Donatelli.
Yeah.
No kidding.
He was in prison camp with me, and I was in charge of this one barrack of 50 men, and he was in charge of this other one. And he would umpire the games, and you knew he was going to be a big league umpire. But we had this tournament, and the guys were betting food. Well, our barrack beat his barrack, so these guys are bringing all the food into our barrack. That was a great
boy.
day.
That's a big day.
Great day, yeah. But Augie Donatelli, now that's the only name I can remember.
Over there.
It's a good one to remember.
Yeah.
Did you make any kind of a special camp or stove or anything? I knew that some prisoners
I had
take
a
a
chimney.
coffee
I
can
had
or
a
something.
chimney. The heat went up, and I would bake things in that chimney. That's the only thing I had. I'd take prune nuts and crack them and get the kernels out and use those for nuts.
Yeah.
That's the only baking or any cooking that I did. Most of the cooking was done in the kitchen, camp kitchens. And when you got your Red Cross parcels, you'd give them all the meats, and then they'd mix that up in potatoes. Then they'd bring that in, and that's what you would eat. Or you take the prunes and they put that in with the barley,
Yeah.
and then they'd bring that in to you.
So how many meals a day?
2.
2 meals a day?
Mhm. But the first meal was breakfast, and you did that yourself.
Okay.
And they cooked the evening meal. That was the only meal they cooked.
So you were liberated, and what was your path back home from that point?
Well, they flew us to Brussels, and they put us on a hospital train and took us down to Le Havre, France. And they had Camp Lucky Strike.
Mhm.
Okay.
And I sat in there for about a week, 10 days, sick, dysentery, eating all this. You were only supposed to have 2 or 3 little meals. Well, I had 12 meals one day.
Yeah, you would have to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
The body's used to not having food.
Oh yeah. All that rich food.
Oh, yeah.
So then they put us on this boat, and they put me in charge of getting the supplies up from the hole to the kitchen. And we would eat with the kitchen cooks. We'd have steak and chicken and ice cream and cookies and all that. And these other guys didn't get much of that. We ate as good as the crew did. Well, then we landed in Newport News, and I got a 90-day furlough. And what's this camp down here on 65 that they closed? Atterbury, that's where I went. And I got my train ticket to go home to Warren, Ohio from there. And when I got home, I weighed 195 pounds. My father-in-law says, "Well, you don't look too bad."
Show them the picture.
But by this time you'd had a little time to recover.
Oh, yeah. I didn't get home till June 16th.
Yeah.
See, that was a month and a half.
Yeah.
Well, John, let's get some more of your story. Toughest mission was probably Berlin.
Probably, yeah.
Were you always able to make good landings when you got back, or did you ever have any trouble with the plane being shot up? Or
No, we landed with actually 2 engines on one mission. And then they had to put in 4 new ones because the hours on the other 2 was
Extended.
ready to expire, so they just changed all 4 of them. So it was about the same as a new plane when we made our next mission.
were they pretty good at swapping out the spent engines, or did they try to stretch them out as long as they could?
No, they didn't try to stretch them out because there was plenty to take care of the ones that needed to be replaced, seemingly so. And if we were grounded for the day or so, and then they knew that they'd work on the plane if at all possible that day and do what had to be done to it.
Now, when you were, how many days would there be between missions? Would you go out?
Well, flew some one day after the next, 2 days in a row. Usually that was no more. You flew no more than that. I don't know about Harold.
No, I know. I never
usually
did.
He never flew more than 2.
No.
Okay.
But even in the food missions, that was the same way.
So you would get How much of a break between missions?
Well, usually at least 2 days. You'd
Okay.
fly 2 days, you'd probably be off for 2 days.
Okay.
But then there was, then you would get a 3-day pass every so often usually after 6 missions, you'd get a 3-day pass and you could do whatever you wanted to in those 3 days. But I usually spent my 3 days in London as near as possible.
Yeah.
Because we had transportation to the railroad station, and we were 65 miles from London. You rode the train. And then in May, we got a flak leave, and I went to Scotland on flak leave. We could go to Scotland or southern England.
So what's a flak leave?
That's the 10 days leave or 7 days, whatever.
And John, you got flak happy and got a little time off. Went to Scotland.
Well, that's where you want me to start.
Well, that's flak. Getting flak happy. It'd be somewhat like battle fatigue a little bit.
Well,
Did it get to where it just wore on you? The stress of it just
Well,
day in day out?
after you flew so many missions, you got a week off.
Yeah.
You probably got that off before you got shot down. And you had a choice to go either into Scotland or, now I don't know where in southern England. I don't know, but there was a regular camp in southern England that I stayed in, YMCA in Scotland. And I enjoyed the Scot people. We had an entirely different type of food in restaurants. We were issued food stamps before we went, and you turned them over to wherever you were eating.
Okay.
So much of it. And it was for sugar and meat and cheese and flour and and I'm not much of a beer drinker, wasn't even then, but I drank a little beer, not much. And I got my first ice cold beer in Scotland because England does not serve cold beer. Their beer is room temperature. The vats are usually in the basement, and you don't see the basement. So
Yeah.
and whether you drank any beer or not, or whether
Not
you
too
had-
much,
I
a little
didn't
bit
either.
mild or bitter. I've drank
Yeah.
mild a little
I
bit.
drank mild. Maybe just one, or maybe not even a full stein of beer because I'm not that much of a. I did enjoy home brew because my dad made home brew.
You got brought up in that, didn't you?
This beer doesn't taste anything like anything American that I know of.
So you got a chance to get liberated too of sorts. Your 26th mission,
Yeah.
and then
Then I came back.
when tell me about finding out about the end of the war. I mean, do you remember?
Oh, while I was in on leave, black leave in Scotland, President Roosevelt died, and you never saw so many people that was grieving as much as the Americans, or even probably more, because they was actually shedding tears and actually crying right there on the streets. If you mentioned anything about the United States, they just absolutely broke down.
Well, it's hard for us to imagine, even though you guys saw the war, it's hard to imagine being under the bombing and just having your country just on the thread of being lost.
And the base that I was on was bombed twice while I was there, and I did not crawl in the foxholes. There was foxholes already. I said,
Bombs
"Now,
made them.
if you've gone through as many of these air raids as we have, you'd be in the foxhole." there we were, standing out there watching the.
You wanted to see
the
what was
bombers.
going on?
Actually, it was just fighters, and they were only had usually one bomb and a machine gun.
It only takes one.
They didn't hit anything. They missed our gasoline supply, so
That's good.
that was the main thing they was after. But they didn't hit it. So.
Did they raid your airfield any? when you were there?
No. That was, that bombing went on after, you're talking about the zip bombs?
Those things went over right over the base where we were.
Yeah.
Buzz bombs.
Yeah.
Buzz
what they
bombs,
were
yeah.
called.
Yeah,
And they were always, we were right in line with London, so they was always hitting London. I was in London when it was buzz bombed 2 or 3 times, and I was in an apartment with a young lady, and the ceiling fell off. That's how close the buzz bomb was, because it was plaster.
You're sure it wasn't your mom?
Sure wasn't.
Boy, that would have to be kind of weird because when you hear them sputter out, they're coming
They're
in.
coming in, they're coming in.
Oh man.
And you could hear them go right over our base because they made a noise all the time.
How high were they when they flew over?
I don't know.
You couldn't see them, so they were high enough that you couldn't see them.
Okay, so they're fairly high up. They just like
They would leave a trail at night, but not in daytime. You couldn't see them in daytime. You could hear them, but they did most of it at night when most people were home because they wanted to kill personnel in London. See if they could slow down the production of anything possible. So that was their purpose and destroying what they could in London with their buzz bombs. And of course, they had that long before we had anything like that.
Yeah.
And we were fortunate enough to get some of the German scientists that have brought us way up to date on many of these things in the United States.
Yeah, I'm glad they came to our side instead
Yeah,
of the
the
Russians.
Russians, right,
That could
right.
have been bad. So how did you feel about the Russians coming in on the camp? Did you think that they might be your salvation, or were you kind of afraid of them?
No, I never thought about it. I knew they would get us out of there before the Russians got anywhere near us, because they didn't want the Russians to get us. They thought the Russians would liberate us, and we'd go back to England and come over and fight them again, see?
Yeah.
That's why they didn't want, they got us out of there way before the Russians were near us.
Russians probably would have put you guys in some of their prison camps.
Well, I don't know.
One of our missions, we got over Russia. That's how close we were to the border.
Did you really?
Yes. And we were shot at by the Russians. I've been shot at by the Germans, or by Germany, Russia, and England.
You went the whole gauntlet, didn't you?
Thank heaven Holland didn't have people shooting at
The only reason they didn't have any guns, John.
Man, you didn't have any friends at all, did you?
They didn't want to make friends with us. I often thought maybe we stopped too soon. We should have gone right into Russia.
Yeah.
And I felt that way for many years.
Yes,
Did
that would have
Yes, I
saved a
did.
lot of trouble.
Yes.
General Patton had the right idea.
Yeah, he sure did. He didn't want to stop.
That's right.
And we should have basically gone right
Yeah,
on
yeah.
into Russia.
Did you feel that way when we first formed that alliance with the Russians? Did you sort of feel that way toward the Russians then?
Well, basically, yes, because I just thought maybe they were going to cause us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it would be kind of hard to. It'd be kind of like making friends with the neighborhood bully, and hoping he would help you against the other guy.
Yeah, sure would be. And that's basically what they were. And of course, that wall that they built to separate Germany from Russia was not a peace wall as far as I was concerned. And fortunately, my grandson was in Germany as an exchange student when that wall came down.
Was he
And
really?
he got a piece of that wall and brought it home.
Hey, all right.
Hey.
So he'll have a lot of memories. He's a school teacher.
I get a kick out of those people when they first started climbing up onto the wall. They were doing everything to try to knock it down. They
Oh,
were
yeah,
chipping away.
yeah.
It just didn't come down because it was too thick.
Yeah.
It wasn't moving very much.
No, sure wasn't.
Did you ever feel bad about bombing a target? Were there any targets where you kind of wish you hadn't have bombed that one?
No.
Not that I know
No.
of.
Normally you couldn't see what you were bombing.
Yeah.
No, because there was a lot of, we were above the clouds most of the time, and we had no idea.
Yeah.
We were hitting sometimes, or where we would hit wherever our bombs, even though we were more or less right on target.
Pastor Ed's brother Lauren was a B-17 pilot, and they were shot up pretty bad. And on their way back, they undid the turret and dropped it just to lighten the load, and it went right through a house. He said he felt so bad about that because he knows he killed some civilians that
Yeah.
way, and
Yeah.
it just wasn't the same as a regular target.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, our last mission over Berlin, of course, we lost an engine right over the target, right after we dropped bombs because of the aerial gunneries from Germany. And when we came to the English Channel, we didn't know whether we were going to make it across the channel or not. So we threw out everything that was possible to throw out of there.
Yeah.
Because to lighten the load to see if we could make it
Mhm.
across the channel. We did not make the traffic pattern when we came in for a landing, which that's very, very unusual.
Yeah.
Because we knew we were just absolutely coasting anyway.
Yeah.
And fortunately, our pilot got us down and got it stopped before we hit anything. And he had a radio, or the radio man did, that we were not being able to make the traffic pattern. So that's a scary thing because we figured we were going to crash.
Mhm.
And flying that, you're probably flying pretty low too, weren't
Yes,
you?
we were.
So you couldn't have bailed out.
No, we was below that. That's
And you probably didn't have enough power to get you back up again to bail
no
out.
power at all. We were just more or less coasting.
So you were in a situation of having to get out quick from a burning plane. You were in a situation where you couldn't have got out. So
Yeah.
We could. And
that's when flying the big planes isn't any fun.
no, sure isn't.
Did you enjoy flying
I
B-17s?
did. I did. I enjoyed it,
I enjoyed it. and,
especially over here in the United States. I'd take over the radio compartment on the 17 as a bubble like glass,
Okay.
and they'd take that out while we were practicing, and I'd stick my head out that hole and fly with my head in the clouds. Every time we were near cumulus clouds, I enjoyed that.
How about you, John? What was the good part about?
Well, really, there was all that was between me and the outside was a piece of plexiglass. So you know, if it broke, we was going to get a lot of air. even being hit with a piece of flak going through the plexiglass did not break it. So that was other than just a little hole.
Tough stuff.
Yeah, it was tough stuff. So
So the war ended for you, and what's your route? How'd you get back?
I came back on the Queen Elizabeth, landed in New York the day that Japan surrendered.
Oh boy!
Oh.
Oh boy!
We could not get off of the ship that night because of the noise
Yeah. Rowdy people.
and rowdy people in New York. They kept us right on the ship.
I thought you were going to tell me that you were the guy that kissed that girl. And where'd you get the Navy uniform?
No. And it was the heaviest load that the Queen Elizabeth had ever brought back to the States. Most personnel. We had no room basically at all, absolutely no room. It was just almost shoulder to shoulder any place you were.
Wasn't exactly first class, huh?
Yeah.
No, it sure wasn't.
So from New York, you came back to
I came back
Atterbury, or-
to San Antonio, Texas, and then was granted leave in San Antonio, Texas, and came home for 30 days, and then went back to San Antonio, and I was discharged from San Antonio.
Okay. So you live in Indiana, just a stone's throw from Atterbury, and they took you to Texas to go home?
Yeah.
That's the Army way. That's the way they do things.
Well, basically because we were actually scheduled to go to the Pacific.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you were pretty much, Harold, you were pretty much out of any threat of being sent anywhere else, weren't you? I mean, having
Well,
been
they would
prisoner
have
of
never
war-
sent me, but I didn't have points enough to get out.
Okay,
So they sent me to Lincoln, Nebraska, and made me first sergeant of a squadron.
okay.
And I had all these young kids that had nothing to do, and you had to get them out of bed. And when it came time for me to, my points were up where I could get out, my second lieutenant says, "I'm going up to talk to the colonel. Is there anything you want me to ask the colonel?" And I said, "Yeah, see if you can't get me that third stripe." And I'd like to get out with that third stripe, be a master sergeant. He said, "All right." So he went up and talked to the colonel, and he come back. He said, "Well, Harold, if you'll re-enlist for 3 more years, we'll give you that stripe." No thanks. No thanks.
Stripe ain't worth that, is it?
You gotta ask.
Well, another interesting thing during my career in the service, I was the only one in the whole crew that my pilot did not have special orders on. There was never any orders issued for me to join his crew.
Oh, really?
They just put me there.
They just put you there.
Yeah, that's all. No orders. The pilot had orders for everyone else except me.
Well,
And he never figured that out.
I'd say he did pretty well because you could have been on his plane.
Yeah.
It would have been worse. So, I heard you say you were married? You.
I got married in August, and then I went back to San Antonio.
Okay, tell me what was her name?
What was her name?
Yeah.
Mary Alice.
What's your son's name?
Thomas K. Hobbs.
You have no idea where he is?
Yes, he's in business in Duggar, Indiana. Has a sporting good business.
So did you ever get to see him?
I did after he got married, because he invited my wife and girls to his house, and met his first wife, and then met his second wife.
So tell me about your second wife and
Yes.
what was her name?
Her maiden name, she was Madge Pritchard Swain.
Okay.
Her first husband was killed overseas in the Philippines. And he was in a plane crash. And she and I met when I lived on South Drive in Anderson, because that's where my first wife and I lived.
Okay.
And her sister lived next door. And Madge and her mother was at a birthday party for her niece, and they invited me over for a piece of watermelon. Her sister did. And then I met her mother and her at the same time. And she went home and she told her mother, she said, "I'm going to marry that guy."
I have no idea.
Must have liked the way you spit the seeds or something.
So, that was, I don't remember, sometime in June, I think, after my wife had left. And then I didn't have a date with her until sometime in September. And we had a date. And we went to Noblesville. And
That's a wild town, John.
she had a car and I didn't, so we went to Noblesville.
Mhm.
So how many years were you married?
42, I believe, if I remember right.
And you say you had 2 daughters by that marriage?
Yes.
What are their names and what's become of them?
Diana is my oldest, and she is single, and she lives in Auburn, California. And she has 1 son. And my youngest daughter is Deborah Gray, and she has a son and a daughter. And her daughter lives across the road from where she lives. And my grandson and his wife are teaching in Texas, and they live near Dallas.
Okay.
And that's about a 3-hour drive from Choctaw, Oklahoma to Dallas, Texas.
Well, let's kind of catch up on that with you, Harold. Married and
Yeah, we got married when I came home from prison camp. We've been married 57 years this August. We had 1 daughter and 3 sons.
so what's her name?
My wife,
Yes,
Barbara Jane Smith.
Barbara Jean Smith.
Hmm.
Where'd you meet her?
Well, I lived 4 or 5 doors from her on the same street. Met her in high school. My senior year, the only year I went to Warren Harding High School.
So she kind of waited it out while you were in the service.
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
Did you guys decide not to get
Oh,
married?
no,
or-
we didn't want to get married with me in service. No,
Yeah.
no.
But you given some thought to it ahead of time?
No, no. We just didn't want to get married.
Yeah.
She was too young, she said, and I was going away, and I didn't know what was going to happen to me. So we got engaged before I went.
Okay.
But then we got married, and I came home on the 16th of June, and we were married August 3rd.
Okay.
Mhm.
So tell me about your children. What's names and?
The daughter is Cynthia. We have no idea where she is. So I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
Then I have 2 sons that live down in Florida. One is the manager of a mattress factory, and the other one lost his wife in September, and he quit his job the end of January and is taking a 6-month vacation, and then he's going to go back to work for a man at Budweiser, I guess, and promotions. Then my other son lives here in Anderson, and he's a UPS driver
Okay.
out of Castleton.
What's his name?
Kevin.
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 Yeah.
I don't think we got the other names.
Yeah. What
Yeah,
were the? Did we get the names?
Thought we did.
Okay. You got Kevin,
Kevin, Cynthia,
Cynthia,
Yeah.
and what was the other one?
Roger.
Roger.
Yeah.
We missed Roger.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Roger. Roger's the one that lost his wife.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin. I'll kind of watch for Kevin. I'll ask the UPS guys there when they come to the.
Well, now he doesn't
Right.
travel in this area.
Oh, okay.
He was here, but about 10, 12 years ago, they sent a bunch of them down to Castleton.
Oh, okay.
Well, that would be our area.
Well, we, Jack and I worked down in Fishers, so.
Oh, yeah. Well, he had that area for a number of years, and then he just switched about a year ago to the Fortville area.
Okay.
But he worked down around the lake, all that area.
Fellas, did you have anybody during the war that you kind of single out as a personal hero or somebody that stood out for you?
Well, who are we going to first?
Let's see who. Either one of you. Can you think?
I can't think of
Anybody in
anybody.
particular?
Well, when I was in Egland Field, there was a fellow from Minnesota, Minnesota. That he and I chummed around together. We worked in the same office. And, we usually went on overnight leave together and such as that. And I never heard from him after I got out of service, but I heard from his sister for a long time. And she was single when the last time I heard from her. And she's in Chicago, was in Chicago. But I don't know whether he's living or dead because he did not have very good health. And I was in his hometown on one of our crazy trips that we took. And at that time, he was in Wisconsin because he had moved to Wisconsin. And that's where he was working, in Madison. And we went to Madison and tried to get in touch with him by phone. We never made it.
What was his name?
Yeah, what was his name?
Kitchem,
Kitchem.
Kitchen.
Huh. Kitchen. Kind of a ketchup kitchen sounding sort of a name.
Yeah.
You guys think of anything else?
Any awards, medals?
Well, I have the award for prisoner of war camp and the air medal with cluster, Purple Heart, good conduct, and the European theater medal.
Okay. John?
I have the air medal with 2 clusters, and I was a real good shot. I got a sharpshooter's medal, and I didn't even get a good conduct medal.
Oh, I got it. Well, John.
Don't ask me why.
We haven't run into too many of them.
Oh.
There's my medal from prisoner of war camp. Stalag Luft 6. With the number, it's hard to read.
Stalag left 6. Looks like 1679.
That's it, yeah, 1679.
1679.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I have to get focused in again.
Anything else, guys?
No?
We always give our fellows
Wait, let me get focused in.
last shot here. Some words for posterity. Something you want to hand down to the ages, a little personal philosophy you'd like to share with the world. Harold, I think we're lined up on you first.
Well, I read a little article the other day, just a sentence that said, never regret growing old. There are many that are denied the privilege. And there's an awful lot of our veterans that are dying each and every day. 2 years ago they honored the P.O.Ws downtown, and there was 6 of us there. Last year they honored the P.O.Ws and I was the only one there. I don't know what it's going to be this year, and maybe some of them couldn't make it last year, but like MacArthur, what'd he say? Old soldiers never die, they just slowly fade away. I often think of that. That's about it.
John, do you have any?
Well, I really don't know anything that I should leave with anybody that I know of. I don't regret anything I've done in all my life. But there's many things I've done that I would not do again. And I think everybody is in that same boat as far as that goes. I hope to go mushroom hunting tomorrow.
I hope you find them too, John.
That'd make a heck of an epitaph, wouldn't it? Well, Sergeant Hobbs, Sergeants.
Thank you very
I
much.
sure appreciate you guys coming out and doing
We
this.
enjoyed it. I'm sure John
Thank you
did
for
too.
the service to our
Yeah.
Hope
country.
we left you with some
Oh, you
Good
left us some
thoughts.
great stuff.
Man,
Just some, oh, we picked up all kinds of neat stuff off of these two interviews.
You're in the picture. We're down here.
Well, I hope our sound came out good. It was kind of odd. Was it coming through to you all
It
right?
seemed okay on me.
Okay.
He when he's scratching, you got a lot of.
Yeah, it's going to move around a little
Yeah.
bit.
It seemed like we worked real well. We think. I think we're doing. We're learning.
Yes?
We'll learn, and as we learn, we'll definitely be able to do a better job.
Might have been better if we'd done these separate. That's probably the best way to do it.
I think it would be
But
better.
I thought it went well. And there were times when their common experiences helped.
Yeah,
Because one guy reminded the other of.
yeah, but it'd been better if he was sitting over here reminding. We had this one, and then. But it worked out. I mean, we could have something better. We'll just have to live with what we got.
But they had a great interview. I mean, they brought all kinds of those flowers and
Yeah.
where they made signs to the Americans in tulips.
Right.
Holy smokes!
That's nice.
He never would have caught that anywhere else.
Uh-uh.
That was a great story.
And it's from Holland, you know, it's a country that can be honored.
Yeah,
They put it in there as Holland,
yeah.
and someone search on Holland or Europe or however we set it up. And
Yeah, I'm not sure how you
Countries.
classify that, but that was really a neat story.
American flags and tulips, it's had messages, huh? Oh, you want to cry.
Yes. I know.
Let's see what we got.
A lot of these do.
Let's see if we got anything. We stop it.